Hello and welcome, I am the Sterling and today we are playing Going Medieval. Over the past few episodes, we have been very busy. We've been carving out the mountain and in some sections we are down to the level we need to be. And so keeping with this momentum, in this episode we're going to continue digging out the mountain. So sit back, grab a cold one and let's get started. Now as promised, in this episode we will continue digging out the rest of the mountain. By the end of this episode, I'm hoping that we can get the rest of this mountain down to the same level as this section down here. Though, no promises. It's a big task. But before we do that, I have to start thinking about the longevity of our settlers. Because as it stands right now, we're only just hanging on. And that's not good. All it would take is for us to run out of food, run out of wood, or some other unforeseen event to occur and would have a mass extinction of our settlers. So in saying that, there's a couple of things that we need to get on top of. And the first one is food. We're down to 54 meals. That's it. We have 10 fish dish and 44 roast meat. And the problem is, that might even rot before they can even eat it. Now, in saying that, we are lucky. We are now on the first day of summer, 1354. And I've noticed the fish have come back, and there's an abundance of them. So, we have plenty of fish now that we can start fishing, meaning we can get some food. But I do need to be careful that I don't just go across and fish out all the waters. Because if I do that, potentially all we'll have is a large amount of food rotting. So I need a steady stream of food, but we don't want to overfish and overhunt. But I also have another little plan in the works for food, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Because the other pressing matter is timber. As you can see, I'm seriously deforesting this map, which isn't the end of the world because the trees do grow back, but there's just not enough of them. Now we're very lucky that majority of our build does not involve timber. Majority is limestone. We just use timber as structural supports at times, and we just use it to burn in our fireplaces, our kilns, things of that manner. But there is a solution for both of these problems, both timber and food, and that is livestock. In this case, goats. And we have 2 of them. Now, how is that the solution? Well, obviously, we can use goats for food. But furthermore, goats, when they eat, they poop. We can then use their dung and turn it into dung bricks that we can use to burn. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I couldn't think of anything worse than burning shit in the fire. But I'm not the one that has to smell it. So that might be another solution to our timber problem. But obviously, the goats come with a couple of their own little problems. The first is housing. Where are we going to put them? I've actually earmarked this little area here for the moment as being a pen. So that will be the first problem with the goats taken care of. So let's plan out a pen now. Now, it doesn't have to be anything special. We're just going to make it out of a wicker fence, just like so. Like I said, nothing special. Next, we need to put a gate on it. And then finally, we need to add a pen marker. This pen marker, when built, will make it that we can allocate different animals to different pens, and then it will register the fence line and create a pen for them. Then our settlers will grab hold of the goats, cattle, whatever it is that we've allocated to this pen, bring it in, and we'll be right as rain. But we're missing something. Food. We need to be able to feed our goats. We do that by adding a trough. We'll just plot one down here. Done. When our settlers build this trough, they'll then start filling it with hay for the goats to eat. And that brings me on to my second problem with the goats. They eat hay. At the moment, we get 176 hay, which is good. What is not good is that won't last very long, and there is barely any hay on the map. At the moment, we get hay from tall grass, as you see here. And there is a bit littered around the map, enough that we can feed our goats for the moment. But that's only because there's only 2 of them. They don't eat much when there's 2. But when they have babies, and those babies have babies, and we've got a large amount of goats, we're going to need a large amount of fodder, a large amount of hay. So we're going to need to start finding a way to produce hay other than just harvesting it off the map. And you get hay by growing barley. You also get booze by growing barley, but we'll worry about booze later on down the track. We have a nice little patch of fertile soil here up on the mountain. Not much, but it will do the trick. This is where we had a big bunch of red currants growing. They're all gone now. Most of the red currants on the map are actually gone. The only red currants I've seen at the moment, all the way over here. But I'm actually saving this last little batch as an emergency supply, so we're not going to touch them. But with the barley, we actually need barley to grow barley. And as you guessed it, we do not have barley. So as per usual, every single time a merchant comes, I'm going to have to keep trying to find barley and buy a big chunk of it. So in preparation, we can then start growing barley. And then when the time comes when we've got an abundance of goats, we'll have plenty of of hay to feed them. And then sooner or later, I'll bring that patch of barley down into our farmland. Oh, wow, I just found a sneaky little bit of red currants over here. Maybe we're not so dire. Though, I've never thought it was a good idea eating large amounts of fruit and nothing else. So that takes care of the food issue. Now, back to the timber issue with the dung bricks. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the research tab and we're going to click on clay brick making. Researching clay brick making will give us the kiln, which the kiln is used to create clay bricks. But as you guessed it, it also gives us the ability to make the dung bricks. So we're going to unlock that now for 20 chronicles. We've still got plenty. We've got 328 done. So now if we come down here to production, scroll to the bottom, there we go. There's our kiln. We can't once again make it out of clay because as I've said in the past, we haven't actually collected or been able to find any clay yet. So I'll come over here to the other variant, which is limestone, and click on that. Now it's just a matter of working out where on earth we're going to fit it in down here because, well, look, it's getting a bit cramped. I think I might try and jam it in behind the stairs here, just like so. Hopefully, this doesn't set everything else on fire. Now, another thing I need to be mindful of building everything under the roof is certain things lose production efficiency being under roof. For instance, the kiln and the smelting furnace. As you can see, production speed is at 60% because it's inside. So later down the track, we have to find a sneaky way of tricking this into thinking it's outside. But for the moment, we're not producing enough ingots that will be a concern. Things like the blacksmith, on the other hand, that can be inside. There's no issue. Though, how's that? I just learned something new. The smokehouse needs to be outside as well. I see that to be a pain in the bum. So now they've got a couple of things to do. Let's hit play and let them get to work. Fantastic. We're off to a good start this episode. So now that the pen and the pen marker are built, we can come over here and click on said pen marker. And as I promised, you can go through and unselect everything we don't want in here, everything except for the goat. Now our settlers will collect the goats, bring them in here, they'll top up the trough, and we'll be ready to start breeding. Correction, the goats will be ready to start breeding. And now over to the kiln. And as you can see, we got 3 things that we can produce here in the kiln. We can create clay bricks, as I said before. We can use timber to create coal, which we're not going to do at the moment. And then the reason we built the kiln, the dung bricks. 20 dung plus 5 hay equals 20 dung bricks, which is good. Means our dependency on timber will be significantly decreased. So we'll click on the dung bricks, set them forever, and now they'll get to work making dung bricks. But as you just noticed, once again now, our dependency on hay has gone up. So we need to make sure that we can start producing hay in a large number. So we really need to hurry up and get a hold of that barley. But for the moment, I'm going to tell them to harvest as much of this tall grass as I can find. While I'm at it, I might tell them to come around and pick up any of this dung I can find out and about. Look at this, what a waste. We cut all these trees down and they don't even bother to pick them up. Look, bloody shocking, I tell ya. That's what I like to see. Couple of settlers here fishing. Now back to the task at hand, digging out the rest of this section here. We're basically going to do exactly the same thing we did here, but on a much larger scale. So we'll start by digging out the walls. We'll dig out around all the pillars. We'll create temporary wooden supports to hold up all these pillars and the ceiling above. And we'll slowly work our way down level by level. And then we'll dig out the bottom floor and allow the top levels to collapse. So let's plan this out now. And there we go. That there is both the timber supports and then where we need to dig all planned out. And hopefully I haven't cocked it up and then the roof all caves in. Like I've said in the past, every single time we're digging, I get really, really nervous I've made a mistake somewhere. And it's not giving me much confidence when I've missed sections. Come on, Sterling. Now I'm going to have to go through, and because I've missed this, now I'm going to question everything else I've done, aren't I? But then, let's hit play and let them get to work. from time to time we'll be approached by a negotiator, as you can see here. So we have to grab someone, we'll grab Thorlek the King, and we'll send him over to negotiate with William Woods. Extortion by the Circle of Avalon. Who would anger the Druids? Not Ironhold. Surely. A simple offering can ensure Mydron's dragons stay sleeping. You really don't want to feel their fiery breath. Right, so we have 3 different options that we can choose from here. We can make them an offer, which potentially can cause the settlers to get a negative mood modifier. The people of Ironhold can say no, which then will be attacked by, in this case, 1 adept archer, 3 archers, 4 fierce malorder, 4 marauders, and 3 ruthless marauders. For such early game, that is actually quite a bit of an army that they would send. Or otherwise, we can take our chances and just leave the negotiations, to which good chance we'll just be attacked anyway. So we don't suffer any negative mood modifiers. I think we're going to take a chance and say no. Lost property. Violent executionists. The Circle of Avalon. You stood your ground, refusing to give in to their demands. The attackers leave, but your relationship with the Circle of Avalon worsens. And this is the face I pull when I care. And look at that. Look at all this dung. There's some good dung just laying around that someone like myself can just come and collect. Now we're making some great progress on the dig, as you can see. It's taking its time. But I tell you what, the part that is taken forever was gaining all that timber. And that dawned on me. The only reason I'm using timber for these temporary supports is so I can distinguish between the permanent and the temporary supports. Just to make things easier for myself so I don't accidentally be an idiot and delete or dig under the wrong thing. But moving forwards, I can't keep using timber. I just can't get enough of it. But there is one resource that I have plenty of. Limestone. Honestly, have a look. Just here alone, there's enough limestone to build a castle, let alone some lousy little temporary supports. I'm not going to build temporary supports out of limestone block, but nothing stops me building it out of limestone. It just means I have to be a bit more careful. So moving forward, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to start using limestone when we can and stop using timber because I just can't get enough of it. Now, on a happy note, if I come over to the overview tab, Doggles has now been successfully trained. He is now ready to start hauling goods around our settlement. So we'll come over here and we'll select haul. Now that's just one less job for our settlers to need to do. We had a merchant arrive while we were digging, and to my delight, he had plenty of golden coins, 150 golden coins. But if you have a look, I've still only got 25. So where'd all the gold coins go? Well, didn't buy any. He had nothing I could trade. He didn't want limestone. He didn't want anything but cats, basically. And cats are only 6 gold. Not enough. And then it sort of dawned on me. Why am I always trying to trade resources? I don't have much use for cats in this game, and yet I get a lot of cats. And I'm forever just culling them or releasing them. Throughout the game, I get lots of cats. Why don't I start breeding them and then selling the cats? This would actually solve a lot of my problems. 1, the resource is walking. So it doesn't matter about his carry weight because he doesn't have to carry the cat. The cat walks on its own. So then that won't contribute to his weight. And on top of all that, then I've got a use for cats in this game. So I see in the near future that we're going to be one of the biggest traders of cats. Well, that's the plan anyway. And there's the top layer complete. And my word, did that take a long time. Do you ever get that haunting feeling that you've bitten off more than you can chew? Well, for me, you're looking at it, as it's taken all of summer to do this. We are on the last day of summer as we speak, day 12. Nonetheless, the top layer is now done. And good news is, we never were attacked. I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting, and the attack never came. So maybe it's not a certainty that they attack when we say no. Not sure. Regardless, we were never attacked. More good news. If we come over to the overview tab, look at all our animals. They've been busy getting it on. We have 3 cats now. Only one of them is trained. The other 2 are in the process. We also now have 4 dogs. Now, usually when trained animals produce more babies, they come out trained. But because the 2 dogs that we do have trained produce their offspring whilst they weren't trained, we now also have to train their offspring. But in the future, trained animals produce trained offspring. Oh, that's in my experience anyway. And we now have 2 new goats. We have 4, and they're producing plenty of dung. As you can see over here, 26. Though I've been noticing what little dung bricks we're making, we're burning them quicker than we can use. So sadly, we're still very dependent on timber. For the moment. Things are looking really promising for my goal of being completely self-sufficient underneath the mountain. Now look, I understand that that's a bit early for me to be saying when I spend about 60% of the time out of the mountain hunting and fishing. But I'm happy and progress is progress. So come on, leave me alone. Now, if I'm actually going to get the task done of digging the rest of this out this episode, which honestly, like I said, I'm wondering if I've bitten off more than I can chew, I got to stop gas bagging and get straight back into it. Honestly, one might think I like the sound of my own bloody voice. Now, as for these stairs, we're going to copy exactly what we've done this side here. So we need to go 4 this way, 4 the limestone blocks. Then we need to dig out 3 for the stairs. Then we'll be able to get down to the next level. And then we'll be able to start digging out the rest, which sadly is going to be even slower going because majority of this was dug out from above. So our dwarves could just run amok anywhere they needed to go to dig it out. But now they're in tunnels. In single lane areas, only one dwarf will be able to dig at a time. That's why I've made it such a vast tunnel network. So then multiple dwarves can dig at a time. I was contemplating making all these channels too wide so we could have at least 2 dwarves digging at any given time. But doubling the width of the channels doubles the amount of work, and so it sort of is a moot point. So I figured, bugger it, we'll just dig your single channels with your single dwarves and hope for the best. Now, like I said about 2 minutes ago when I said I'll stop gas bagging, but then I continued for like 2 minutes to gas bag, I'm going to hit play and let them get to work because we've got a lot to do. Another negotiator has arrived, so I've sent Thorlek over to negotiate with them. Extortion by the looters. You know the score. We loot, you die. Unless you want to bribe us with something, but make it worthwhile. I don't want to waste my time chatting. Right, once again, 3 different decisions. We can decide to make them an offer. Once again, some settlers may get a negative mood modifier. The people of Ironhold say no. If that's the case, they'll send 1 adept archer, 1 archer, 5 force marauders, 3 marauder, 3 ruthless marauders. And let's see if they actually attack this time, because last time they didn't. And then obviously we can just leave the negotiations and take our chances. But this time, I think we'll go with what we did last time and say no. Extortion by the looters. You stood your ground, refusing to give in to their demands. Damn right we did. We're dwarves. We don't bow to nobody. This time, we will be attacked. 4 hours and 27 minutes. Okay, now it's just a matter of getting our dwarves ready to be attacked. And I'm going to attempt to use the environment to our advantage. Hopefully it works. Here we go, we're being attacked. And as promised, that's one hell of an army. I'm honestly a little bit nervous about this one. They got far too many archers for my liking. And what's this guy got? Is he going to try and lasso one of us and drag us away? He looks like the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Oh no, it's a sling. Okay, that would have been interesting. Here they come. And they took so bloody long to get here. I thought the actual fight was going to be timed out by the time they did get here. They've had to come all the way from this side of the map. And they're straight attacking the door. Though it would help if our animals weren't sleeping in the bloody door holding it open. Not that I think it will matter. This guy's already making light work of this door. And they're in. Now my plan is quite simple. I've put our archers up here on the corner nice and high. I got there by using this ladder here and then ran them across. And all our melee is down the... Why are you up a bloody ladder? Get down. I'll try that again. All our melee is at the bottom of the stairs ready to go. And I wish I could get a camera view I can use. And here we go. Hopefully we can kill most of them as they come through the door with our archers, and then our melee can just mop everyone up at the bottom. And that was pretty quick. The first one is down. I've got a bit of hope for this. Moving forwards, I might have to build some sort of structure similar to this. Attack. What are you doing, guys? And that's another one down. It's a bit of a turkey shoot. It reminds me of another game I once played. That's number 3. Number 4. Whoa, and we're even getting them out the door. Look at that. That's number 5. That's number 6. I'm really, really confident about this match. He says before everybody dies. And now here you go. This will be number 7. He's down. And the big guy's coming in. Have a look at this. This guy's pretty heavily armored. Hopefully we can take him. He's a bit too armored for us, I think. Whoa, our ranger's getting attacked. We have to do something about that. Who is the guy attacking us? We're going to make sure we pick the right one. Are they both archers? Yes, they're both archers. So we'll pick one to attack, and then we'll kill them, and we'll move to the next. Fantastic. That's one. Because where we are, we don't have much protection. We got the higher ground, but we don't have the protection. Though we're doing pretty good at this point. And we have won. Fantastic. 13 sworn enemies died during the fight. Daniil was the bravest of the settlers, dealing the most blows to the foe. Thankfully, no settlers were hurt by the enemy weapons. Wow, I don't think I've ever had a fight where no one got hurt, and I've had the least amount of protection on this fight. Fantastic. Some of the buildings of Ironhold were destroyed under the bombardment of enemy weapons. The door, basically. Yay, you make it sound like it was half our bloody establishment had come down. A door. One door. Now let's mop them up. Grab our archers and attack. Attack! Nonetheless, look at all the loot. Woo! I am very happy about that. I wonder if any of it we can use, but nonetheless, even if we can't, that's plenty of resources we can mount down. That will keep our settlers busy for a long time. But yeah, that's what we need. More work for our settlers outside of digging, so less digging. I thought the whole point of this episode, Sterling, was to do more digging, not to melt down resources. I've undrafted, but where's this cheeky bugger going? He better not be coming back for a fight. Nick off. Actually, he's just getting out of our limestone crop field that we have. We're not growing many other things, but limestone is something we're not short of. I can already feel my frame rate's going to die. I'm not looking forward to this. I haven't had good experience in the past with large amounts of resources just laying around. Now let's clean up this mess and get back to work. A new settler has arrived, a hopeful helpmate. Elba approached with her hand held out and warm, open smile. Elba was keen to learn about Ironhold and only too willing to lend a hand. All she asked was a safe place to call home. Oh, she sounds lovely. Once again though, still don't have enough food. So we're going to slam the door in her face. Fantastic. We've now dug down to the last level and we're ready to dig it out. Now, I've got some good news, and some good news. I'm just full of good news today. So which one do you want first? The first one is we've got so many bloody cats now and we've started selling them. I've sold about 4. And with the cats I sold, I was able to buy some barley seeds. Only 9, but that's a start. And so I've planted a nice little barley field on the top of the mountain here in this little fertile area. It's only a temporary solution. Not that we're wanting for fodder as you see here. We've got 617. Just before winter, I managed to get a whole bunch off the ground. Now, don't worry about our food. It looks more dire than what you think. Even though we've only got 9 raw and 3 meals, and one of our settlers is starving, it was due to the fact that we were hunting, and then for some odd reason, after our hunter would kill the animal, it'd forbid the carcass, and so nobody could pick it up. I don't know why. And so I then selected the entire map and allowed the entire map, and then suddenly they brought this haul of carcasses in. So we've got far too much carcasses here. All this will rot before we eat it. It's actually a real oversight on my behalf. And as you see, our wildlife numbers are getting dreadfully low. So something like this shouldn't happen. This could cause some serious problems. But we're only talking about the good news, so let's move away from this. And over to here, we have cows. We have 1 male and 1 female, and they've already had a calf. Not this one, that's a sheep. Which brings me on to my next point. We now have a sheep. I deliberately went out and got the cows. I don't know where the sheep came from. Just one day, we had a domestic sheep, so I shoved him in here with the cow. Unless we can find a male sheep to go with her, we won't have sheep for much longer. And as you can see, we've got a huge number of domestic animals now. We've got a nice big dog army running amok, so that's really good. Now, the final thing I want to talk about before we finish off the dig dig. And our last point of good news, during the cold snap, which, mind you, is the coldest part of the entire game, I measured outside at about minus 14 degrees. That is bloody cold. Maybe not for you Europeans, but for me as an Australian, that is cold. At the exact same time, I measured over here by the fire at 14 degrees. That's a big difference. And then everywhere else I measured inside the mountain away from the fire registered at just under 4 degrees. Meaning even during the coldest point of winter, inside this mountain is still very much livable. And once they've got homes and buildings to actually be inside of the mountain, year round, they're not going to freeze. This is a great idea. I wish I'd thought of it sooner. Now we're running out of time this episode, so I better get a wriggle on and finish digging out the rest of the mountain. Can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to watching this whole thing crumble, so let's get stuck into it. We began digging this section over a year ago on the first day of summer 1354. It is now day 8 of summer 1355. And my word, did a lot of work go into digging all that out. Honestly though, my only criticism about this build so far, I need to find a more efficient way of getting up to delete the temporary supports, as the amount of timber it takes to build all those ladders is just ridiculous. And because of the way I delete the ladders, I don't even get the timber back. So it's just a waste. Now all that's left for us to do is to pick up the mess inside, put the main road through the middle, and then we can start putting in the buildings. Unfortunately though, that will have to wait for another episode, as this is all the time we have for today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.